Welcome back to the CommStock channel. My name is Brianne Hendrickson. Today I have Justin with us. Welcome.
Well, good morning, Brianne. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. How are you? How's your weather?
It's all right. A little foggy, a little damp. Harvest kind of wrapping up for quite a few producers in the next 5 to 6 days. So be nice to get a little bit of a dry run next week. Weather does look better 1st of November. So hopefully, by next weekend, we'll be pretty well wrapped up on the corn side of things here.
That's good. Hopefully that weather plays on your side. November 8th through the 13th, I will be traveling from Texas to southern Indiana. I would love to stop by and capture your farm story or how harvest went. Want more information or want to schedule a day? Send an email to report@commstock.com. Thanks for being on. Let's kind of jump into it. Export sales report came out this morning. Let's talk those numbers.
Yeah, so export sales released this morning at 7:30. Came in right at the low end of the expectations on wheat, as you can see there. I really like this slide just because it does lay out where the trade expectations were versus the actual USDA numbers. So when we look at wheat towards the lower end of the trading range there, not a huge shock to anybody. Looking for that number to increase as the year goes on, but we'll see. Moving on to the corn side of things there, that beat the expectations by a significant amount of bushels, really good sales there. As we talked last week, if you remember, we talked about the need to pick up these sales in the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to somewhat remain close to on target. Currently, we're sitting on the corn side of things right at, 28.1 million bushels per week needed the balance of the year. Probably an achievable number. We've averaged 48.8 the last couple of weeks, so could be an achievable number. We know we always slow down certain times of the year, so hopefully we can remain on pace for that. There are a couple of interesting things that stuck out that we'll talk about in just a second, but yeah, so moving on to the bean number there, right at the top end of the expectations, pretty much where we thought, probably a little bit better than what we would have expected with the water situation at the Gulf. A lot of those beans are moving off the PNW. We know that, but with the recent rains, looking at the USD or the Weather Service forecast of the Mississippi River, it appears that we are going to get some water back into that thing next week. So hopefully we can pick up those sales out of the Gulf on the beans. We definitely need to average a little bit better on those. 41.1 the last 4 weeks need to be, we need to pick up the pace and average 20 or so for the rest of the year. An achievable number, especially with the news out of Argentina. Many are saying that their bean meal plants are running out of beans. Big story, driving the meal exports. Obviously, we can see those at the top end of the range. And as expected, soybean exports were non-existent.
So did anything stand out to you in the corn numbers?
Yeah. So when you go down, I believe there's the weekly, just a graph of the weekly corn chart there showing the current year versus last year. Now, last year isn't a great analog year because we were coming from such a tight carryout, short crop, things like that. So I kind of watched the 5-year, need to pick that up. But if you move on to the next slide there, Brianne, I think the interesting part, and this is the one that's got everybody worked up, China. Where's China been? Are they coming? Are they not coming? At this point in time, it doesn't look super favorable that they will step up and buy a lot. They need to pick up the pace. Like I said, with the balance of the year needed, I still think we can achieve those USDA numbers, but we need to continue to see good sales. And it would be nice to see China step up and purchase some of that corn.
Let's switch over to soybean. Anything specific or anything noteworthy in their numbers?
Yeah, so the next slide that we have there, just year over year versus previous year, that little bit shorter crop this year, probably on the bean side, according to the USDA, than last year, and potentially looking to get reduced in the next report. So I expected to see those export numbers off versus last year, just a smidgen. I think they look pretty decent. Again, needing to average 20 million a week It's off 29% from last year, but USDA also has cut their forecast for projection of beans. So need to continue to see those bean exports come in. And hopefully, if you want to advance to the next slide, we look at that China number. As we saw last year, that spike up right at the end of October. We look at the 5-year, end of October, November, generally spike up before they drop off. We did have news of a non-binding agreement getting signed in Iowa this week. Is that a prelude to something more coming? I don't know. Again, when those are non-binding, it's hard to say, but it does give me a little bit of hope in the soybean market as we move forward here.
Switch over to livestock. Let's start with beef. Anything specific with them, or how did they do?
I didn't even include a slide. Pretty routine or decent. We've seen those box beef numbers just kind of tread water in that 300 to 305 range. Hand to mouth most places. And at those levels, I don't blame them. Just kind of routine, in my opinion.
Let's go over to the hogs. With Eric, I always kind of root for them, just being a girl growing up with the swine industry. Please tell me they got some good news.
Yeah, still tracking below last year, previous year, still under the 5-year average. Came in with export sales today at 28,000 metric ton, down 8% from last week's big numbers and 8% from the 4-week average. But looking forward, we're still selling pork. It's still a value. Hopefully we continue to see those countries step up. I did, on the next slide, throw in a chart just of those December hog contracts. We may have something working there. We saw cash firmer earlier in the week. We're looking towards the end of the week. We had a good technical close or move yesterday, up again today. If we could get a higher close today, maybe we found the bottom of those hog markets in light of huge farrowing numbers and litters.
So overall, how do you feel about this report coming out?
Maybe more optimistic than last week. I know your comment was you seem pretty concerned. Yes, I still am concerned. That China slide bothers me. It would be nice. They're a value purchaser. Everybody knows that until other places run out of corn. We're probably sitting on the sidelines on that. Ethanol numbers have been really good. So hopefully that buys us enough time. It seems like this crop, the tail end might be a little bit bigger than what the middle part of the crop was, but it still is getting put away at this point with relative ease. So we're buying time, hopefully, for those sales to come. But historically, we need those sales to come here relatively quickly. Hopefully with that move or that signing of the non-binary contract earlier this week, it foreshadows something coming for better days in the next week or two.
Let's switch over to reports coming out this week and happening today. Thursday, October 26th, export sales, the gross domestic product Q3, as well as the jobless claims report comes out. Wrapping up the week on Friday, October 27th, it is a big one to write down on the calendar. November grain options expire. Please make sure you contact your brokers before Friday to set up a plan. All right, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Want more premium content? Subscribe to the CommStock Report, where you will receive 2 reports daily. Want more video content? We are on Facebook, YouTube, and now TikTok. So don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.